people who stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from elderly people through a lottery scam into federal prison yesterday. Fabian Gray, Romaine Gordon, Avia Reed, and Kalila Powell were all sentenced to at least 2 years in federal prison. Authorities say the four were operating a bogus lottery telemarketing scam out of Myrtle Beach. Evidence showed they would contact elderly victims, telling them they won a sweepstakes. However, the victims had to pay taxes and fees in order to receive their winnings. The four received over $300,000 from their victims. After their prison sentences, they'll have 3 years of court-ordered supervision and pay nearly $350,000 in restitution.
Okay, so y'all just heard that right there. And shout out to Trill, Texas for sending this story to me. Before we get into this article, make sure y'all go ahead and like the video before you even leave a comment. Make sure if you are new to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because I have a feeling that you'll be back again, and hit that bell so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. If YouTube's, thing wants to be in work proper that day. But what I found interesting from this article, just in the title alone, was, and I'm gonna read the title. It says, judge sentences 4 Jamaican nationals in lottery scam with ties to the Myrtle Beach area. I thought it was interesting that they identify them by their nationality, because any other time they would just say 4 black people and just leave it at that. But they made sure to identify them by their nationality. So you know how a lot of times Tariq posts different videos and maybe articles involving black people onto his page, and he'll make sure to pinpoint or point out it says non-FBA. They did it right here on a more, I guess you can say, on a more mainstream. This is still a local story, but the fact that a sort of but a local outlet but tied to the mainstream outlet actually did that says a lot, because now they're identifying specifically who did this instead of just leaving it so broad and saying 4 black people. So you just heard the little audio clip right here, and I'm gonna read more into it because the article does give more insight to the clip, because the clip was only 40 seconds. It says 4 people who stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from elderly people through a lottery scam are headed to federal prison. The U.S. District Attorney's Office in the District of South Carolina announced on Wednesday that a judge sentenced Fabian Gray and Romaine Gordon to more than 5 years in prison, while Avia Reed will spend more than 4 years behind bars, and Kalila Powell was sentenced to over 2 years in a federal prison. Homeland Security and the United States Postal Service said the 4 were operating a bogus lottery telemarketing scam out of Myrtle Beach. Evidence presented in court showed that as part of the scam, the defendants would contact elderly victims, soft targets, through phone and mail, and then lie to them, telling them they had won a sweepstakes. The supposed prizes usually consisted of millions of dollars, a new vehicle, or other valuable items. But the defendants would tell the victims that they had to pay taxes and fees in order to receive their winnings. So they basically were saying, you know how they used to have those the home sweepstakes type of thing, where you had Ed McMahon used to come knock to your door with the balloons and that big giant check. This is what they were trying to do, but they were trying to do it over the phone. First off, I would never trust anything like that ever in my life. And notice who they chose to target: the elderly, because they know that 9 times out of 10, they would be the ones that would end up falling for it. They know they couldn't get a younger person to fall for it, because we're going to question that. Although some younger people would fall for it, because there's a lot of scams online that are floating around here. I remember when someone had got me like that. I'll admit I fell for it, and they ended up hacking my Instagram and my Facebook account last year. But through diligence, I was able to get both accounts back within a week. Some people, unfortunately, weren't so lucky. They got their stuff hacked and they never got it back, and they had to start all over. But I was determined for that to happen, and then I implemented that 2-step authenticator and haven't had an issue since. One time someone tried to get me, but I didn't fall for it this time. I saw the trick. I saw the finesse coming a mile away, and I ended up, getting them getting them out of there before they can get me. I made sure to Google to see if this was legit, and they said that it wasn't, and I blocked them, deleted the messages and blocked them. But yeah, they knew exactly who to go after. They knew to go after the elderly because they knew the elderly would be more inclined to believe this. And it's a lottery. So, a lot of elderly people, they're retired. They're only relying on Social Security checks. and that check only comes like once or twice a month, and that's it. So if there's a chance that they could probably get more money, of course they're going to take it. And they knew exactly what they were doing, so they took advantage of a group of people who, in a way, did not know any better. And that's very unfortunate. That definitely should wield jail time for sure for them. And told them that they would have to pay taxes. The taxes, quote unquote, that they had to pay was money that was going straight to them, to their pockets. And you heard in the audio how much money they made, like over $300,000. That's a lot of people to scam in one city. It says, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the victims would mail the defendants prepaid cards, money orders, cash, and would even deposit the money into the defendant's bank account. Evidence shows the defendants received over $300,000 from their victims. The funds were withdrawn by or transferred to co-conspirators in Jamaica, and the defendants retained a 25% cut of the scamming proceeds. So this was like almost like a ring that they had going on. It's like they would get the money, they would give a cut to the people who was like the head honchos in Jamaica, and the head honchos would give them each a 25% cut of what they did, and they would repeat the cycle over and over again. Officials say there were at least 67 victims, with 25 of those being over 80 years old, and several victims were targeted multiple times. Once the defendants serve their prison sentences, they will have 3 years of court order supervision if they are not deported upon release. I was getting ready to say, punishment along with whatever they got to pay in fines needs to be deportation back to Jamaica. And whoever in Jamaica has to deal with them, let them deal with them. Take away their visa where they cannot come back into the States. And see, that's the thing too that a lot of people don't want to talk about when it comes to immigrants. Now, look at this. I'm talking about black immigrants right here. We're not talking about anybody else. We're talking about black immigrants, specifically these 4 from Jamaica. You see what they did? Instead of coming over here to be upstanding citizens in this establishment, they decide they're going to come over here, bring their scheming ways, and scam and scheme and finesse these elderly people out of hundreds of thousands of dollars for their own personal gain by lying and deceiving them, and then have it be like a ring between them and the people in the nation that they came from, and continue the cycle over and over again. And you heard they said that they did some of the people, they got more than once, because they legit thought they won some money, and it turns out that they didn't, and they took advantage of that, and they didn't care, and they went after one particular group of people. Like, this was premeditated. This was all planned. You can't tell me that they did not sit down and strategize who, demographic wise, age wise, they were going to go after. And they laughed all the way to the bank. Well, now the joke is on them. It also goes on to say they are also ordered to pay nearly $350,000 in restitution to their victims. Good. I hope they didn't spend all that money. Because guess what? Before they get deported, which I hope that's what happens with them, they will be paying every last dime of that restitution, and then they can leave. Kick them out and send them back packing. And like I said, this is the part about immigration that people don't want to talk about, is a lot of people come over here and they bring their ways with them. Remember, I did that video talking about that Afghan refugee. Well, a couple of them coming over here, they were put on the base, and what did they do? Like, the minute that they got there, they started sexually assaulting the female military personnel. I said, well, you literally have them coming over here doing and performing the same acts that they were doing over there, that they probably got away with. And here we are with them. They most likely was scamming and scheming over there. So what did they do when they got over here? Scam and scheme and lie and deceive. Well, I'm glad they got caught. Unfortunately, they got away with way more money than I wish they could have gotten away with. They shouldn't even have gotten away with snatching up $350, if you ask me. But I'm glad that they did get them at the end of the day. And that deportation thing definitely should be the thing that happens, but after they pay back that restitution and after they do their time. And that is my take on it.